In most horror games, fear comes from the unknown. But in Golden Light, the real fear is how quickly the unknown starts to feel normal. This video isn't just about a weird game, it's about how horror can live inside the mechanics. Golden Light seems to start off innocently. You and your loved one are having a picnic in a field of flowers, but that peace is short-lived. She suddenly vanishes into a hole in the ground, and you, blinded by love, instinctively jump in to save her. You find yourself in a bizarre, organic world known as the Gut. In this first-person roguelike, you descend floor by floor into a living, mutating world. Walls are full of meat and pulsate. Objects sprout flesh, and inanimate objects can come to life. As the player, you have one clear objective. Find your missing girlfriend, only referred to as she. Along the way, you'll loot bizarre weapons, gold, and mementos. These mementos, for example, can be found in the gut and can give the player permanent effects like quiet footsteps or more weapon damage. Apart from looting, you fight, run, hide, or fall in love with monsters, and you engage in all kind of weird encounters like riding a bike that talks to you. Visually, Golden Light throws you into a world that looks like it's rotting from the inside out. The game uses dark, dilapidated hallways coated in a rusted brown and red color palette that makes everything feel corroded and diseased. Flickering lights and twitchy environmental animations enhance the sense of decay and instability. What really defines Golden Light's visuals is its distinct pixelated look. Textures are intentionally smeared, blurry, and glitch-like, thus creating a visual noise that feels wrong in all the right ways. This rendering gives the game a dreamlike or nightmarish quality, and its constant visual distortion keeps you disoriented and uneasy. Where Golden Light truly stands out in though is its monsters and mechanics. Monsters you encounter are random mashups of shapes and slabs of meat, creating an uncanny, disturbing appearance. It's definitely freaky, but there's also a strange comical edge to some of the designs, like the map monster with his googly eyes. Even your weapons are alive in this game. They are covered in meat and eyeballs, while others have mutated growths sticking out of them. The mechanics tied to these weapons are just as strange. Sure, you can use them to kill monsters, but doing so upsets the god. When angered, the god will spawn more enemies, and NPC vendors will raise their prices. So playing like an unstoppable action hero who shoots everything on sight won't get you very far in this game. To appease the god's wrath after killing too many NPCs, you might have to hurt yourself to regain its favor. Or, if you're already suffering from a negative effect like poison or being on fire and your health is low, there is another option. You can eat your weapon to restore health. First time I picked up a weapon and ate it, I laughed. It felt absurd, like a surreal joke, but the longer I played, the more that moment stayed with me. If even weapons, the core tools of survival, aren't meant to be used in the way we expect, then what can we rely on? That's the essence of Golden Light. It doesn't depend on cheap jump scares. Instead, it unsettles you by slowly eroding your sense of trust in the world and in the mechanics. In this game, there is a clash between what the gameplay systems allow and what the player expects based on narrative logic or established video game conventions. In most games, a gun is for shooting and a health potion heals you. Those are rules we've internalized over years of play, but Golden Light deliberately breaks that logic. If you want to heal, you don't drink a potion, you eat your weapon. And by doing so, you're left even more vulnerable because, well, you just ate your weapon. This idea connects to a term called ludonarrative dissonance, created by Clint Hawking in 2007. He used it to describe the moments when a game's story and its gameplay send mixed messages. In BioShock, for example, the story encourages you to make moral choices, like saving the Little Sisters, But the gameplay rewards you more if you kill them instead. So even though the story pushes you toward compassion, the mechanics tempt you to do the opposite. That creates a disconnect. Golden Light plays with this same idea, but it pushes even further. It doesn't just create tension between story and gameplay, it makes the gameplay itself feel unstable and unreliable. You can heal by eating your own weapon, but doing so makes you weaker. Hurting enemies might help you survive, but it also makes the world more hostile. The game constantly challenges your expectations, turning the mechanics into part of the horror. We as players are so used to games rewarding violence. Here though, you're often punished for it. Some monsters are passive, even friendly, and they might fall in love with you and attack other NPCs out of jealousy. It's often safer to run, not fight, and the more you kill, the more the god begins to hate you. Yet sometimes violence is necessary. That tension and the uncertainty of whether you should fight or flee keeps you constantly on edge. It's a powerful form of ludonarrative horror where mechanics themselves carry meaning. But this system isn't foolproof. The longer you play, the more patterns begin to reveal themselves. Behaviors repeat, layouts become familiar, and the unpredictability that once drove the horror starts to fade. What first felt like pure chaos eventually becomes manageable, even routine. For example, in early runs, the sudden appearance of a monster disguised as a plant or a meat wall screaming was scary and out of the blue, but after several hours you begin to recognize which objects tend to disguise as enemies, or you can predict when the game is setting you up for a jump scare. The tension of anything could happen gives way to I know what this room is doing, and the fear starts to lose its grip. In these moments, the fear for me personally is replaced by frustration or fatigue. The tension dissolves not because the danger is gone, but because you've learned to read the system. And once you can predict the system, the horror kind of loses its teeth. What I've learned as a player is this. Real fear doesn't come from monsters or weird visuals. It comes from losing control. When the rules break, when systems betray you, and when logic fails, that's when horror becomes psychological. However, when those systems become too familiar or predictable, the psychological scary edge dulls. Horror turns into a habit, and fear gives way to calculation. Overall, Golden Light proves that horror doesn't just belong in the story. It can live in the mechanics themselves. It shows us that fear can be hard-coded into the very act of play.